Welcome to another episode of Game Boy Roulette, where we take a look at randomly chosen games from the Game Boy library. Tetris Plus. Plus what? I'll tell you what, plus small adventurers. Okay, let me back up. You all know what Tetris is, but over the years, they tried to mix up the formula every once in a while, just to see what else they could do with the gameplay. One of those attempts was an arcade game eventually moved to home consoles, Tetris Plus. The goal of the game was to guide the professor, an adventurer on a great expedition, to treasure rooms by breaking the blocks below him. It was a fun twist on the concept, and made its way to 3 consoles, the Sega Saturn, the PlayStation, and of course, the Game Boy. I mean, it's a version of Tetris, so you better believe it's gonna come out on the system that made Tetris famous. If I sound excited, it's because I had Tetris Plus for the PlayStation. In fact, it was one of the first games I had for it, along with Twisted Metal 2, and I loved it so much. The chance to play Tetris on a big screen, with color, and now with goals, that completely blew my mind. And yet, to my surprise, Tetris Plus, at least the PlayStation version, had average to bad reviews. I'm kinda blown away. I always thought this was a pretty well-received game, but it looks like I may have been the only fan. Granted, a lot of the reviews point out that it just doesn't do nearly enough to shake up the Tetris formula, but come on, we have a professor in this game. That means it has to be good by international law of professors. The box art looks pretty cool, with some nice textures on the blocks and a good angled shot, just like the original Tetris box. But it's missing something. That's right, the professor. Look, I know I'm obsessing, but I really like that little guy, and they're showing no respect to Professor Tetris. Or, wait, did he even have a name? How did this childhood favorite of mine play on my beloved handheld? It all adds up to Tetris Plus. Ah, Alexei Pajitnov. We will always salute you. There they are! Tetris Plus! The professor and his assistant. I don't think they have names. Good music, too. Alright. I loved this game as a kid. Well, for PlayStation, anyway. Classic mode is just basic Tetris, I would imagine. So let's start with the big selling point, puzzle mode. Oh! We get to choose. Right, you got to choose where you went on the PlayStation version, too. Let's start with Angkor Wat. Let's go. So many statues. Intriguing. There it is. Go down. Okay. Well, it's pretty much the exact game that I remember. In fact, we just won this level. Aw, I was hoping in the PlayStation version it goes, oof. Sorry, I'm going to be making a lot of comparisons to the PlayStation version. I was going to walk back and forth. There's definitely a lack of smoothness compared to the other versions, but I feel like that's to be expected when you're going from the PlayStation or Sega Saturn to the Game Boy. But, like, I don't know, it's playing alright. So, this is, like, exactly what I remember. Standard Tetris gameplay, but with a bit of added complexity. That gives it a very interesting twist. One that's kind of plays with the formula and makes it fun. Again, I don't see what those, review sites with those old reviews hated about this. Okay, we probably need to hurry up. Maybe just a small amount. And then we continue carving our way down. I like how adventurous the music sounds. That's the thing I liked about Tetris Plus. It had this, like, it had a very specific tone of, like, grand adventure using Tetris gameplay. Uh-oh. This does not bode well. Oh, I have screwed up so badly. Oh, Professor's gonna die. Down. Down. Oh god, Professor, no! Professor, no! The professor has died. Here's my idea. If we do this, and then we do this, maybe... Don't go down there, Professor. Damn it. Oh, Professor. Stay there. Oh, hang on. Is he gonna fall asleep? Yeah, he's asleep. And inside, oh god, a lich. I want to check something really quick. Are there bonus games like there were on the other version? One moment, please. There are no bonus modes. Again, I guess that makes sense if they have to cut those for the smaller release. I don't know, I'm not seeing what's so bad about this. I'm enjoying it. I mean, none of the reviews were absolutely terrible, but they were all like, oh, this could be so much better. And I mean, I guess you could technically say that about any game, really. But this one is fine. Oh, never mind. I'm a genius. Oh, fun. I love this. I love that they lay out the levels drastically different. And so part of it comes down to just how the level's laid out and your own skill. But it still has that luck factor from Tetris. Which is, you know, sometimes you just get a bunch of crap pieces in a row. And you have to learn to deal with what the game gives. Oh God, sorry. I just realized I'm doing terrible here. Oh, the professor, you are in so much trouble. Okay, hang on, professor. There we go, you're safe. I forget how many stages it is between each world. I don't think it's that many. I think it's like... It's somewhere between 10 and 20, but a decent amount. Especially for the Game Boy. Plus, I mean, the Game Boy version has normal Tetris in it. In fact, we should go look at that. I will say this. The controls aren't quite as smooth as original Tetris. There's just a little, just a tiny bit of delay, a tiny bit of stiffness. It is not nearly enough to ruin the experience by any means. But it's definitely enough where if you are, if you're a Tetris expert such as myself, you'll notice it. I don't get the hatred this game got. I think Tetris Plus is great. Does it replace original Tetris? Heck no. Tetris Plus found its own version of Tetris gameplay. And you know what? I think it's good. I think it is highly underrated. Plus, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a professor in this game. Yes, a whole professor. What more could you ask for out of a Tetris game? Everyone brace yourselves, there's a soapbox on the horizon. So looking at this game in a vacuum, it's pretty darn good, with only one or two little issues. But the bigger picture is where things baffle me. The gameplay itself is fun, the same as seen in the other versions of the game. A perfect twist on the Tetris formula that keeps the gameplay intact while messing with the win conditions. I love the more strategic look at Tetris, trying to figure out the best path to get the professor to the bottom, while also dealing with Tetris's usual reliance on luck. The controls were good, although a touch less smooth than on the original Tetris, and the game looked alright, although I do miss the fun backgrounds of the PS1 version. Those are minor complaints though, and they don't take away that much from this overall very fun game. But, and here's where that soapbox comes in, I'm once again left wondering, why the heck did Tetris Plus get such negative reviews? I was expecting that the gameplay hadn't aged as well as I thought, but if anything, it's even better, because I can look at the game more critically. Look, as much as I love Tetris, it's not sacred, there's nothing wrong with playing around with the gameplay to try to evolve it, and Tetris Plus did it in the perfect way. I really think reviewers didn't give this game nearly enough credit for taking Tetris and finding a way to adjust the gameplay to have a whole new set of rules and goals without changing what the player does. It's time we all show a little bit of respect to Tetris Plus, a game that deserves far more credit than it gets. Looking at this game on its own, it's really good, but even more than that, it's a game that I feel passionately about because it seems that passion isn't shared with a lot of other people. So please, go out of your way to play this one and experience one of the best modifications to Tetris that was ever made. I mean, you have to. You don't want to disappoint the professor. Do you? And that's all for another episode of Game Boy Roulette. Make sure to like the video, comment, and subscribe to follow the series as we continue to dig through the Game Boy vault. I'm Brian J, and I'll see you next time.